Good morning, everyone. It is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce and welcome Dr. Seshadri Ramkumar, a full-tenured professor of advanced materials at Texas Tech University, USA. A distinguished scholar and researcher, Dr. Ramkumar has made significant contributions to advanced material science and is widely recognized for creating global awareness about protective technologies such as face mask materials that played a critical role in saving lives during COVID-19 pandemic. For over 2 decades, he has actively fostered collaboration between India and the United States in science, technology, and culture. In recognition of his outstanding contributions, the Textile Association conferred upon him his prestigious honorary membership, its highest honor, previously bestowed upon luminaries such as Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, the father of Indian space science. Additionally, the Indian Science Monitor honored him with a Lifetime Achievement Award for 25 years of dedicated India-USA academic and cultural collaboration. Beyond his engineering accomplishments, Dr. Ramkumar is deeply committed to promoting Indian knowledge systems through his association with International Hindu University in the USA, where he mentors doctoral scholars in IKS-related studies. His weekly lectures on life management and Ramayan in the book beautifully integrate timeless wisdom with contemporary life, reflecting his holistic vision of development. Today, we are truly privileged to have with us a scholar who seamlessly bridges science and spirituality, tradition and innovation, and India and United States. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Dr. Seshadri Ramkumar. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Namaskar. Good morning to you all. It's basically the time of night owl for me here, but I'm very happy to do it, and I just want to extend my heartfelt thanks to Nirmala College, its management, its key administrators, and more importantly, the coordinators and the student friends. I do not know how you found me, but I think through LinkedIn you knocked on me and asked that I should talk about Indian knowledge systems, how that Indian knowledge systems and modern science and personal development are linked. So please note that this is not a religious talk, but I would try to borrow some quotes from Indian knowledge system based texts. So with that prelude, let's begin this lecture. So what happened to the slides? Okay. So what is the basis of any knowledge system? A basis of any knowledge system depends on established texts, established understanding. So I will compare and contrast both the Indian knowledge system, which we call it as an acronym IKS and science. So parallelly, we will be discussing this. So in terms of IKS, basically these are all established texts. Depending on the type of the religion, the texts vary. But the purpose of the religion is always to not only to understand the supreme, but also use those texts for the well-being, for personal growth and development. So to have a better understanding of what the established dictionaries talk about scriptures, I went to one of the libraries here, and then I pulled two dictionaries. One is Merriam-Webster, which we use in United States, and the rest of the world predominantly follows Oxford or Cambridge Dictionary. So then I flipped the pages to see what does scripture mean. Scripture is something, scripture, gospel, it's all interchangeable vernaculars. Your scripture is one which is a recorded information. And since the genesis of all the learning started on religious texts, whether it's a Cambridge or Oxford or Harvard or Yale, all started as a religious schools. So any recorded understanding is nothing but a scripture. And similarly, if you look at the meaning for a gospel, A gospel is something which you do not question, or it is regarded undoubtedly the true thing. That means gospel is something you take it as a truth, ultimate truth, or Veda. In IKS system, it is Veda. Now, similarly, what is this in science? In science, we call it as theorems or principles. Newton's first law, Newton's second law, Newton's third law. So, in comparison with IKS or any religious text, in scientific discipline, we call them as established theories or principles. So, in a loose term, principles are more or less equal to, for lack of better term, equal to scriptures. Okay, so what does science do? Science and religion or knowledge-based system, first it gives us hope. So religion says that there is going to be always tomorrow. And what is science? Science, we believe that new things are going to come. So my son told me when I was telling that I'm going to do this presentation, he brought me this. Appa, this is what one of the Star Wars characters, the heroine, her name is Leia Organa. And in this, Star Wars is a sequel that started in 1977, ran all the way up to 2000s. And this sequel, The Last Jedi, was came out in 2017. And the heroine is Leia Organa, and she epitomizes hope. So she gives a beautiful example, which is related both to IKS and science. So this Leia Organa goes through a lot of struggle. She is thrown away from her own planet. Let's not go into the story of Star Wars, but I'll tell you the gist. She is thrown away from her own planet, and her father is the admiral. He loses hope. He goes into darkness. But then some of her colleagues in that battalion asks her, "Hey Leia," and more importantly, her son gets killed. I think his name is Kyle Reno. He gets killed. So there's nothing there, nothing left. Then she says, what it carries me is my hope. But hope is something that you always believe. So science is based on certain hypothesis, and that is based on some belief. So she says, I think hope is like a sun, because if somebody says that there is only sun, if I'm able to see it, then what happens in the night time? We all know that the sun is ever existing. Because of the earth's rotation, we are not seeing in one portion of the day or night. So she gives a beautiful phrase saying that hope is like the sun. If you only believe in it when you can see it, you say that there is sun only if I believe, or if I could see, then we will have to confer that in the night time there is no sun. But that's not there. If you only see that the sun, I believe only in sun, if I'm able to see, then the whole world is lost. You will never make it through the night. Day and night comes, rotates and comes because of the rotation of earth and sun. Right? So this is what it is. Hope is like that. Even if you do not see, you got to believe that abstract in you. Similarly, all religions are based on hope and faith. Similarly, science is based on certain belief backed by evidence or backed by facts. So, if you simply say that if I'm not seeing anything, if I'm not touching anything, there is nothing there, then that is not a science, that is not a religion as well. So, you have to have some method to madness in understanding things which you are not able to see, provided there is logic. So, that is known as logic. Okay. Now, what does scriptures do? Indian knowledge system or any knowledge system first gives you hope. There is tomorrow. How do you know that? So in Indian system they say Shatamanam Bhavati. People have to live 100 years. It may be give or take 70 to 100. But still we are going to live better. That is hope. So scriptures or knowledge systems are based on hope. Similarly, science is based on hope. And this hope is like a sun. So if you keep walking in the sun, heading towards sun, all the shadow will chase you. You don't have to follow the shadow. Shadow will face you. Similarly, all the illusions, all the darkness will go away if you have some hope, if you have some belief based on pre-existing theorems based on pre-existing principles. That is what in IKS we keep the scriptures or gospels as the governing theorem. Okay. Now, the word hope came into more prominence in the Indian subcontinent after Swami Vivekananda came back from Chicago. And this, I have been having collaborations with India since 1999, about 28 years. Although we know what Vivekananda said about hope, only this summer, when I was traveling extensively in India to receive that Indian Science Monitor Award and lectures, I came to know that this phrase, arise, awake, stop not till the goal is reached, that positivity. Science asks us to expect positive results, but in science, you have to also live up with negative results. Similarly, in life, there will be positive results, there will be negative results. Where does this come from? This hope that this is a cycle of positive and negativity, cycle of ups and downs. Where do you get it? That comes from one religious scripture. I was asked to compare the Indian knowledge system. That is the reason I'm using and quoting Indian text. It doesn't mean that I'm not using the other text. The theme of this conference is Indian knowledge system and how science could be developed using certain principles that are governing the Indian knowledge system. So this phrase, hope, science, life, everything is based on hope and belief. This comes in a text called Kathopanishad. Uttishta, Jagrata, Prapya Varan Nibodata. Hey, get up, face the world. Once you are determined, Shraddha Bhagasya Murdhani, Veda says that. Once you are determined, you will see some results. It may not be what you expected, but you see, Swami Vivekananda borrowed this phrase of hope and determination from Kathopanishads. So this, when they were celebrating the 150th year celebration for Swami Vivekananda, Government of India and Indian Railways made it a point to go and erect a plaque in the exact place where Swami Vivekananda on 3rd February 1897 made the clarion call to the Indian nation to arise, awake and stop not. That is the place where today's Kumbakonam railway station near Tanjavur in Tamil Nadu is there. And you can see that whenever, not many people do this, but when some people have a chance to go to Kumbakonam, it's called Temple City. I encourage everybody to see. You will see that some 150 years back, nearly more than that, the Indian scripture was taken and was used to rejuvenate and make a renaissance in the Indian community in India. So the hope stems from the Indian scriptures. Similarly, science is built on belief and hope. Now, I'm going to take 4 themes and compare and contrast IKS and the science. First, in science, what is the basis of science? Basis of the science is to understand the building block, understanding the basis. Similarly, in religious parlance, understanding the supreme and understanding the nature is the base. Second, understanding the mechanisms. What are the mechanisms that is governing this scientific theorem or this scientific experiment? What are all the basic mechanisms? Similarly, the knowledge systems and scriptures in all religion, the main understanding is two elements. One, the God or the supreme, and the other one is who are you? Who is the supreme? Who are you? Those are the 2 mechanisms you have to understand. And the third is, what is the purpose of me doing this research? Okay, I have to use this mRNA. What is the purpose of this? mRNA is as an antidote. We all know when we went through COVID, we know that we do this. People have been doing research in mRNA for long years, for 20 years, because it is going to lead some positivity to the world, understanding the purpose of research. Similarly, the knowledge systems, the ancient knowledge systems asks us to understand what is the purpose of you being in the world. See how it compares beautifully. So understanding the basis, understanding the mechanisms, understanding the purpose, and the fourth one is, if I do all this, what do I get out of it? Outcome of an experiment. What is the outcome of experiments in recombinant DNA? What is the outcome of experiments and knowledge development in AI? What is the outcome on photonics? What is the outcome of nuclear energy? All this is, there is certain outcome, but that outcome should be for the well-being. That is in our hands. So understanding the outcomes or values of outcome. Similarly, in knowledge system, what is this? What is this? What am I going to do? What is going to happen after this material body is gone? All these are understanding, and that leads to some purpose. So science and knowledge system match very well. It's kind of a symbiotic relationship if you have this understanding. So this is something I was lucky enough to frame. So these are nothing but 4 legs on a table. So to understand the knowledge system and understand science, we have to have these kind of 4 legs. Understanding the basis, understanding the mechanism, understanding the purpose. What do I get out of it? So what are the basic? Based on faith. So we are here, whether you accept God or not. People like me accept God, so we feel that that is the basis, primordial basis of our existing. So that is faith. You call it as a belief, you call it as a faith, you call it as hope. Even in Christian religion, Jeremiah talks about hope. Okay, faith, then when you have faith on something, tomorrow there is going to be a day. There is a beautiful day tomorrow. That is a faith. That gives you hope to get up. After 8 hours of sound sleep, it gives hope to get up, and then that hope leads to the way of life, so that you don't cringe and call. You get up, dust up, and then go to work or do something. So science is also built on this. The faith, what we do in science, is given a name, hypothesis. We don't know whether if I add X and Y is going to give Z, but we hypothesize that if X and Y are added, it is going to give you Z. Whether it comes or not is different. Similarly, tomorrow is going to be there. How am I using tomorrow? Am I using tomorrow to the fullest ability? That's up to me. So that is way of life. So then faith, knowledge system talks about one, faith in Supreme, and not only faith in Supreme, faith in oneself. So the Indian knowledge system's basis is, I said, you have to have faith. So if you are practicing in Indian religion, the basis upon which you build your understanding is Veda. The term Veda itself, Veda is a verb. It's a Sanskritized term, but it is a verb. So verb is always work related. So you should not be idle. That's very important. Ved mane jnana, vidajnane, to know, to learn, to gather. That is the reason probably you kept this conference name, Gyan Samavesh. Samavesh means to gather, to include, to assemble. Either way you can take it. Gyan Samavesh, to gather knowledge. Similarly, Veda means to know, to gather. And what is the similar thing, synonymous in the knowledge system is, scientific system is theorems. Peer-reviewed literature, because it has to be established. Somebody should have seen it and accept that this is the truth. So basically, theorems, long established theorems and principles, peer-reviewed literature, which are more or less on parlance with the IKS to be known as scriptures. So not only scriptures. So you not only take certain established theorems in science and technology, you keep on improving, you keep on improvising. So that is in knowledge system, they call it as sishtachars. So whatever your elders have done, probably hundreds of centuries and centuries people have done that. Okay, why we celebrate Onam? There is a reason. But your forefathers have celebrated for a number of years, centuries. So that you accept it as a protocol. That is in knowledge system is known as Sishtachar. Achar means practice. Sishta mane following. So Sishtachar. So these are the same things established in all religions. It need not be only Hindu religion. All religions are based on certain boundary of knowledge. Seek the knowledge. Then after you seek the knowledge, what you do? You have to put that knowledge into good use. And that good use will lead to the betterment of mankind. So that is the basis of the age-old knowledge system. And that is also the basis of science. Science need to be for the betterment of the world. To explain all this, what I have been rambling, the stories, parables, in other religions, they call it as parables. But in Hindu religion, they call it as itihasas or puranas. And all religions are based on certain authoritative text which you do not question. You improvise. Those earth has to rotate. So although there were controversies then, but now every religion accepts that earth is circular and earth rotates. It rotates on its own axis and then it rotates the sun. So now that's how knowledge evolves. So that is the basis. Similarly, all religions establish that there is supreme, and attaining that supreme should be the goal. How you attain is different. X plus y should give z. You need to get certain quantity realization of that output of the equation. How you get it's up to you. So we will now take some examples, and I will also show you a real-time example how my lab, based on faith, proved that one intervention measure saved umpteen number of lives. So that is an actual, my lab links basically knowledge system and science. So I will show you, we'll finish up with some results, how the faith-based, evidence-based science, which we glean from the knowledge system text, helped to protect several lives just 5 years back when COVID was going on, when COVID was a pandemic. Okay. So, what is life? We said that. Similarly, what is the constituents of the matter? Physicists delved on that. Then, how do you do that? The theory is called particle physics, nuclear physics, all that evolved. And always there is correlation, whether it is in religious text or in science, there is always correlation between that knowledge and nature. These are all synchronized. So this combination cannot be separated, whether it is in the religious text or knowledge text or science. This cannot be separated. Chemistry means it is connected with nature. Physics is connected with nature. Artificial intelligence is also connected with nature, because when you are building different data centers, you need energy. When energy has to be used, carbon emission. So that's again energy. Again, energy is again linked with nature. So nature and knowledge are symbiotically related with each other, whether it is in the religion, if you are talking about religion, or talking about science and technology. Okay. So I have explained all this. Vida jnane, to know, that means one has to be active. So religion doesn't preach to be idle. Similarly, a chemistry experiment has to be performed to get some output. So dynamic efforts are needed all the time. That is very important. If a person is very active, we know, what does science say? Your lifespan will be increased. So that is the basis of knowledge system, not only Indian knowledge system. Okay. Now, how do you do that is important. So now that we have understood that we have to learn, we have to seek knowledge, that knowledge has to be put to some good use. Then you have to have the tendency to accept fault. So Shakespeare says this. Shakespeare says that discretion is better part of valor. That is the one which Indian knowledge text tell. Particularly if you take about Ramayan, I'm not a master in other texts, but I am little bit more confident in handling the stories of Ramayan with some proof. So Rama did not know that tomorrow he would be asked to go to the forest. Most of you would know Ramayan story. He did not know. Then the next morning, his Chotima asks that you need to go to the forest. Without questioning, he accepts and goes. He didn't fight with her. If he fought with Kaikeyi, we wouldn't have gotten Ramayan. If we didn't get Ramayan, many positive pearls of wisdoms will not be possible for us to glean. So you have to make a decision. Similarly, in scientific, so Ramayan tells you this. Ramayan in a way is a basis for doing scientific experiments. That's what I'm coming. So Shakespeare also said discretion. You have to discriminate. You have to see which is good, which is bad. So what do we do in scientific experiments? If a plan B, project A doesn't work, you cannot be idle. You have to move on with plan B and plan C. Hoping, which we already seen, hope is important. Hoping that if one plan doesn't work, the plan B or at least plan C will give you. That is the reason. Any drug development, even mRNA, using mRNA basis to develop vaccine did not happen in one day. Rome was not built in a day. Thiruvananthapuram was not also built in a day. You are still building. Same thing. So you have to make your own judgments. But the judgment should not be random. Judgment should be sound. There should be some logic. There should be some method in your madness. So Ramayan tells that. So Ram didn't know what to do, but he kept on moving, and where needed, you see that he befriended with a set of divine monkeys. He befriended with even his enemy, Vibhishana. So he was able to maneuver around. Ramayan tells you this, which is very valid for any scientific experiments. If plan A for PhD students is in my own research career, some 30 years back, my first project did not work. Then somebody told me this. You always have to have in PhD, particularly in science and technology. I'm not talking about social science and soft sciences. In hard science, always we need to have at least plan B. Most of the time plan A will not work. So that is a connection between knowledge system and science. Now, what do we do? To do that, constantly we have to learn. That is what we do. Literature search, prior art. If it is in patent, we do prior art or prior literature search. That knowledge people do. They call it as Purva Paksha. What people have done. How did Advaita come? How did Visishta Advaita come? How did Dvaita come? All these darshanas, all these philosophies, those are the basis for, those are all called Indian knowledge system. How did they come? Each one, the propagator of each philosophy or the propagator of each darshana read the earlier doctrines and then modified based on their own logic, discretion, based on their own logic. So lifelong learning, one has to keep on learning. Then that learning has to be used to rectify your mistakes. Okay, if this temperature for this experiment is not working, you have to either increase or decrease the temperature. Learning from mistakes. And then knowledge system focuses on truth. Satyam vada, dharmam chara. The act, the dynamic form of truth is nothing but your way of life, which is righteousness, which is dharma. Similarly, you should not, what chemistry professor or physics professor or engineering professor tells, your PhD guide will tell, do not cook the experiments. Don't fit the points so that the curve is either elliptical or the curve is straight line. Do not cook the results. In science, even negative results are good. If it is spread, if the data points are spread, it's also good. It is telling some output. So, truth. And then, what is benevolence? Sraddhaya deyam. Knowledge says this. Asraddhaya deyam. Sriya deyam. Hriya deyam. Biyas deyam. Keep giving. Similarly, what do scientists and technologists do? They publish their findings. They don't keep it to themselves. Nowadays, I'm very pleased that in India, people are pushing themselves to publish papers, and then rankings are there, metrics are there. In a way, it is good. In some way, it is bad. Anyway, but disseminating the knowledge, that means you have to be benevolent. Somebody has to read your paper, use your procedure, and accept that that procedure works so that the knowledge can be spread. See how beautifully the knowledge-based system and the science system collide here. Lifelong learning, keep on learning, literature search, prior art, discussions, go to conference like you do. Mistakes will happen. Learn. Always try to be fact-based, that is truth. and then share the knowledge. So this has to happen daily. That is the reason we come to college. We do research. Even if you look at research scholars, they come on Saturday and Sunday. They become mad doing research. That's in a way good thing, but one has to have a balanced life. That's a different. So learning every day. By doing, you experience this. The last section of the scripture in Indian religion, Vedanta, says this. Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam naf pramatitavyam. Swadhyaya, keep learning. Do not neglect learning daily. Swadhyaya, Malayali people will understand Sanskrit better. That's a great thing. Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam naf pramati. Pramad means neglect. Naf pramati davyam. Do not neglect learning. Keep on learning. Not only from books, learn from others. That is the reason in science, without knowing, trust me, without knowing whatever the advanced scientists are doing are all based on what has been said in the basic knowledge structures of religion. It can be any religion. If you look at from this point of view, see what I have told, what the scientists and technologists do on a daily basis, it's all there. The scripture says, Swadhyaya pravachanapyam na pramatitavyam. Pramad. Don't neglect. Then see from others. Respect elders. Interact. Tasyasanena. There are people assembled in a gathering. Ask them questions, but in a polite way. That's why when you ask question in a conference, what they will say, don't ask any rhetorical one. You can ask, but there is a way to ask. See, you interact with people. That's why normally at least people recommend go at least one conference or at least two conferences in your field in a year. Two conferences in a year. That is the reason major societies, American Physical Society, American Chemical Society, American Material Research Society, all these will have spring conference and fall conference. Where does that come? Knowledge text tell that. Okay, an interaction. When you interact, knowledge comes. Most of the times if you talk to Nobel laureates, they will say, this spark for my Nobel invention happened based on a discussion with an undergrad student, based on a discussion with a scientist in a conference. So interactions will help. If some invention come and hopefully somebody gets a Nobel Prize, that gets that much visibility. Why they get a Nobel Prize? Because of its long-term impact. Everything is there in the knowledge sector, which I told you. Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam naf pramati. Do not neglect. And keep on learning. I'm going to finish with this story. Beautiful. So I told you, Itihasas tell the edicts in the Veda or edicts in the gospel or edict in the scriptures using story. First and foremost, literature search, gathering new information. Most importantly, I am the editor-in-chief of an open access free peer-reviewed journal. It's a multidisciplinary journal modeled after proceedings of Royal Society, modeled after proceedings of National Academy of Science. You are all welcome to look into my website and send papers. Anyway, so what do you do? If that paper doesn't have citations in the past 5 years, if you do not provide your paper with recent publications related to that paper, the editor-in-chief or the peer reviewer will say that the literature review section is not up to date. That the knowledge system, Vedas say you have to keep on learning. It gives you a story. There was a rishi called Bharadwaja, because people have to understand if you tell by stories, right? That is why Edutachan did this Ramayan in Malayalam as a Kelipattu, as your folklore. Okay. Anyway, so what happens? So there was a rishi called Bharadwaja. Beautiful. See, literature review. Do literature review. How do you become a famous scientist? I'll keep that as a secret and I'll finish this lecture with that. That is related to what is there in scripture. So this sage was Bharadwaja. He was very eager to study. So the Indra gave him 100 years. So he lived 100 years, studied. Then he thought, this much I have to study. Katrathu kaiman alavu, kalladadu ulagalavu. Okay, that is in Tamil. It's my misfortune that I cannot fluently converse in Malayalam, but I understand well. Okay, then what happened? Then that sage went to Indra. As PhD advisors will always be happy, sir. I want to do more experiments. Okay, do. You will get one more paper for me. Okay. Similarly, this guy went to Indra and said, I want to learn more. So give me one more 100 years. So Indra gave second 100 years. Then he didn't finish. So he went to third time to Indra and said, give me one more years. He said, hey, Bharadwaj, look, what do you see in front of you? There are three big hills. Go there and then can you take that entire hill? No. What can you do? He said, I can only take one handful. That is the knowledge. But knowledge is vast. That is why scientists are there. That is why biotechnology came, information technology came, industrial revolution came, then came agriculture revolution, green revolution came, white revolution came, then information technology revolution came, biotechnology came, now it's artificial intelligence. Keeps on. There will be a shift in knowledge. It will be moving, but you can only capture something, but you should not be content. So knowledge is like hill. All you can do is gather only little. That is for one person. If people are collectively gathering knowledge, imagine how much information can be disseminated. How good this is. This story perfectly fits with what professors like me cry every day. Go do literature search. Go do literature search. What does it mean? Knowledge is unlimited. We don't know what is there. That's why NASA is trying to send. They have already sent man on the moon. They are still trying again now, trying to send man on the moon. NASA is doing it this week. Why? Because knowledge is unlimited. Whether it is the science-based text, or it is old knowledge-based text, religious texts tell this knowledge is unlimited. But you have to make efforts. Keep on learning. Then that is given by this story. And then now disseminate. Don't be parochial. See, would anybody at Nirmala College thought that it is now roughly around 11 o'clock for me in the night, that this guy will be awake at 11 o'clock and cry, my family are all sleeping? That is sharing the knowledge, not only within boundaries, beyond boundaries. When World War was happening, everybody were only chasing German because the knowledge of making bombs or whatever it is, or making toxic chemicals, were only with Germans. Now look, knowledge can be spread. This one example, this Gyan Samavesh-2026 is itself an example. Share knowledge. Now I have given you a clue that people, research scholars, can publish both way free. If it's open access, most of the journals charge. But Texas Tech University, a leading university, thought that we should disseminate the knowledge. So there is no page charge. Publishing is free and it is open access. So when you have open access journal, more people read. When more people read, your citation number goes up. So that is knowledge dissemination. So all text, whether the primordial text in the Indian system, Rig Veda, or Gospels, whether it is Old Testament or New Testament, or poetries, old poetries, all talk about knowledge sharing. Yadum Ure, Yavarum Kalir. And Gandhiji was an example. Lifelong learning. Who would have thought that this frail old man would be able to lead and get independence for India? How did that happen? Team playing. That is the reason. If you look at CRISPR or gene editing or genome or human genome project, it was not done by single people. Now science cannot be done in isolation. It has become clear. Science has to be multidisciplinary. Science has to be big projects have to be done in teams, team playing. And if results do not come, it doesn't mean that particular group is bad. You got to encourage, motivate, compassion, give, share knowledge. And one person in a team will not be able to do jobs. All experiments cannot be done. Distribute and collectively enjoy the success. Okay, so we saw that the old system talks about Ram. He stood for truth. He could have, his brother Lakshmana says, I'm going to take my father, Bandi. I'm going to put him in jail. But Rama could have done that. He said, no, I will spend 14 years in forest. True, that is the reason we are studying Ramayan for how many years? Dasaratha was also truthful. He could have simply neglected his wife. Okay, I gave this vara some time back. Who knows? Only you and me know. Same thing when Yudhishthira, when he lost the kingdom by playing dice, he accepted. So truth always stands. Now I'm going to show you the results. So this is the thing. When COVID was happening, prior to the approval of mRNA vaccines, there are interventions methods people did. One was distance. And the second thing was face mask. So there were a lot of disbeliefs about face mask. But what did I say? My lab always works at the intersection between culture, faith, and science. So I said, okay, whatever they say, let's show from data, not from many, from across the states in United States, we will collect authenticated data. How many people died before mask mandate, and after the states, United States has 50 states, okay. After the states, not many states mandated, but federally it was mandated. So all 50 states at some point in time, when COVID was at peak, they put this face mask mandate. So we collected data through CDC and other government channels that what was the death rate, how many people died, what were the casualties in per 100,000 people, because it is basically 6 billion people globally. So per 100,000 people, how many people survived after they wore masks? 21 days after masks mandate and 28 days after mask mandate. How did we do that? We had faith that this will work, because what was the basis? What was the scientific fact? What was the truth? That's what I said. This virus, this SARS-CoV-2 was found to spread through air. So if it is spreading through air, if we have some protection, if we have some barrier to the nasals, definitely lives will be saved. It may not be 100%, better than nothing. So this was called as cheap man's vaccine. Okay, so understand this. How did this come? We had faith when everybody were laughing. Many countries even laughed. Why should I wear mask? We had faith, because this is what we do, cutting intersection between science and knowledge and faith. So you see, what we found was 63% of 32 states. We were able to only collect the data from 32 states in United States. We found 63% of those 32 states, if they used masks, there was a downtrend in casualties. And the number increased. If they kept on wearing the mask for 28 days, the percentage of casualties per 100,000 increased. Casualties decreased, success rate increased. And this we published in an open access. That is what we did say. We showed that the faith which the knowledge text, Sanatani Dharmic text, or all the gospels say is faith. I believe there is a God. Then only you call that book to be a gospel, because that is the faith. You don't question. I am man of faith. I am a believer. So I believe there is a God. What God? Let's not debate. That is the basis. So we thought in our lab that mask would protect and save life. That was faith. Then we have to analyze. That is in knowledge system. It is known as Tharka. It is known as Tharka or Nyaya Sastra or Tharka, logic. Okay. So we came up with some logic and showed that after 21 days of mandate, after 28 days of mandate, we were able to show decrease in casualties. And third thing is knowledge. Share the knowledge. Right? Benevolence. We saw that. That is why religions say you have to dedicate so much of your earnings. Okay, you go to temples or you go to places of worship. What they do, they call it as a fellowship. In Sanskrit, they call it as a goshti. In English, they call it as a fellowship. Why do you go to a place of worship? For fellowship. You can simply pray at your home. But why religions insist that you should go, congregate? Fellowship, exchange knowledge, exchange ideas, exchange pleasantness, exchange unhappiness, everything. So we published this effectiveness of face coverings in mitigating COVID real-time data from Centers for Disease Control and United States Department of Health. So exactly, what did I say? Learn from mistakes. Which Purandaradasa, Bhakti poet says, see, religious text, he says, you can teach an ignorant, but if somebody is not willing to accept mistakes, stubborn, it is difficult. Which he says. Same thing Vibhishana. Vibhishana knew. See, Ramayan. So Ramayan is not only a Sastra, it's not only a religious text, it's a life book. It's a life management book. So Vibhishana, he knew that he was doing mistake by being party to the wrongdoings of Ravana. Once he knew that mistake, he switched sides. Don't ask me, can somebody switch side? If it is for good, take it that way. Whereas Kumbhakarna stood with Ravana. What happened to Kumbhakarna? Gone. What happened to Ravana? He's gone. Everybody gone. Same thing in Mahabharat story. That is the reason. Learn from mistake and adapt and accept the mistake. There was a Tamil Bhakti poet called Andal. She says, if you find that is a mistake, it's easy not to quarrel. Just say, I did the mistake, I accept. What a better way to stand. So standing up for truth. And then what Ramayan says, Rama used to always interact with people. That is why people cried. Ladies beat their chest and cried when Rama left. And the entire place was reverberating with Rama. Ramo, 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 iti prajanam abhavan kata. Everywhere it's Ram, Ram, Ram. Because he was Purva Bashi, Mridu Bashi, Mita Bashi. He will go first and shake hand. He was a prince, but he used to mingle with people, converse, exchange ideas. You don't have to worry that somebody is a Nobel laureate. You can't interact. You can. That is one thing we should know from Ramayan. And interacting with people, it doesn't matter. Because those people are in Harvard or MIT or Stanford, they had more resources they did. It doesn't mean that people in Nirmala College are not as good as no. So forget that shyness. The next conversation is engage. This Jefferson Fisher says talk more. I would more polishly say engage, but don't be argumentative. That is called reason. Do not argue, but reason. That's what when Lakshmana says, I'm going to take my father captive. He's not fit to be a father. Rama, reason. We have to respect father because he has given word. For a man, word is more important than life. So he reasoned with Lakshmana. Otherwise, Ram Katha would not happen. And then we will finish with hope. Did Hanuman know that where Sita would be? He took it as a challenge and hope. Similarly, Rama's younger brother, Bharata, Ramayan says this. He was hoping definitely Ram will come back after 14 years. And he was serving as a representative with hope. Now, keep listening. This exact thing what you are doing is bringing people like me. It's already 12 midnight in East Coast, mid of the night. Engage. At least something. I'm not saying what all I said is correct or what all I said you should take it. At least some stories will reverberate in you. At least get something in your ear. That is the reason the Almighty kept both ears open. You have to have hands to open your ears. Whereas for mouth, the lips itself will close. Whereas imagine why God kept these two ears open. Listen. At least something will get in. So, living is essential. That is hope. If you do not live, you cannot perform experiments. You cannot create next revolution. Who knows, after ChatGPT, after AI Sarvam, something will come. Be of service. If you are having faith, be of service to the Supreme, not only to the Supreme, to the world. And see from others, see from the organizers. I don't have any connection with Nirmala College. True. They approached me. Because I am the one who is longing to get knowledge. I am already 55. In USA, tenured professors have no retirement. That's a different story. But I wanted to know a little bit about Nirmala College. I wanted to engage with people. And I was told that yesterday you had the director or the chief scientist of IG CAR come in, and a lot of members of parliaments who are your representatives have come. See, new things come. Similarly, every religion preach not only about God, not only about religions, they preach other things. Those can be imbibed. Now we come to the last slide. So, what we did this 40 minutes, it's based on hope and belief and hypothesis in scientific parlance. You cannot see the results. You cannot see how neutron fusion happening. Of course, now the CERN in Geneva does it. I'm talking about, but there is a hope that this will create energy. So hope is like a sun. If you don't see sun in the night, it doesn't mean that there is no sun. That is what it is. Science is based on hope. Religions are based on hope and faith. So we have to be like Leah Organo. Her father was gone, lost her son, but she said, I am going to live, I am going to conquer my planet back. If you only believe that I will only believe things when I see, eventually you may see, or your kids may see, they may benefit from that experiments or benefit from the technological revolution. So you should always hope for the best. Science preaches belief, hypothesis, but then evidence based. You have to back it up with evidence. Similarly, religious texts, particularly Indian knowledge system, are based on Satya. True Satya is known as Rita. And the expression of Satya and Rita is righteousness, which we call it as Dharma. So, a lot of people have helped me. We see, I told you, we see role models, and these are all the role models for me. With that, I think I have taken 10 minutes more. So I hope you would excuse me. And if there are any few questions, I'll be willing to take it. But it has been a pleasure to know you, and I've never seen any college focusing on taking a theme to connect knowledge systems. Particularly, the title was Indian knowledge systems, which are based on scriptures, obviously. That scriptures are divided into not only Vedas, Itihasas, Puranas, Vedantas, Tharka, Mimamsa, Nyaya, Vyakarana, all those things. So if we could glean things, it doesn't mean reading a gospel is basically religion. No, no. Although it is going to preach us about the Supreme, it gives lot of information about the way of life. If you understand way of life, inquiry, inquisitiveness, new things will come. With that, I thank everybody and wish you the very best of this conference. And I was told that it has already become a success. And I hope that with this success, the people will get motivated and keep on, because this is a very good team. I have not seen even IIT Mumbai, IIT Chennai have a knowledge systems cell nowadays. But for a private institution like this to do this and to make it international is very laudable and worthy. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for a wonderful session. Now the session is open for discussion.
You got to be louder for me to understand the questions. If not, will you let me go?
Now I invite Dr. Selvanas, Professor, Aquatic Biology, Fisheries and Microbiology, Malayalam College, Kolamangalam, to conclude this session.